Van Show. He's a monster on a mission to talk to lots of folks. Van Show, Van Show, Van Show, Van Show.
Hey everybody, it's the Van Show. Welcome, welcome. We are very excited because we have a super special guest. Super extra special guest. We have Stina Leicht. Say hello, Stina.
Hello, Stina.
Hey, wah, wah. We're so happy to have you on the show.
Very happy to be here.
We want to learn about you. So first, tell us where you're from.
I am, currently I'm from Austin, Texas. I've lived here since the late 80s. So I've been here a while. I guess that makes me a Texas native.
So you are an artist, a writer, and apparently I didn't realize you did animation as well.
Yeah.
So tell us, when did you discover that you had a penchant for the arts, as they say?
Oh, I was very young, very young. I was in first grade Catholic school. We had a couple of different little art projects that everybody did, and it turned out I was pretty good at it almost immediately. And I found it was a lot of fun, and one of my favorite things to draw was actually Snoopy.
Oh.
So when we moved from Kansas City to Houston, I made friends by drawing Snoopy. And about middle school, I decided I wanted to be a writer. And so I started writing, and my dad found out and told me that wasn't one of the 5 things women could be. So.
There was a list, and that wasn't on it?
That wasn't on it. It was like teacher, housewife, secretary, nurse, and airline
Oof.
attendant. Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
I am not kidding.
Was this list written in the 50s?
Yes. From there, I turned to D&D.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, D&D was actually kind of saved my life in a lot of ways, because I learned that I could be brave in D&D. Because I was always reading about these really brave characters, and they were always male. And so I decided to play. I really wanted to play D&D pretty badly, and I started playing it, and then discovered I could be brave, and I could also write stories, and so I ended up being a DM. And
cool.
I ran a game for 16 years. That a friend of mine was actually a professional writer, and they sat me down and were like, okay, so tell me about this game you're playing and all of the stories involved. And I told them, and they were like, you're wasting all of this on a D&D game. You need to be a writer. You're a writer and you need to be one. And it was the first time anyone had told me that. So I was very excited and decided to give it a shot. So I joined a local group here in Austin. It still exists. It's called Slug Tribe.
Oh yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah, they're very, very good for beginning writers. It's a wonderful place to get started and get other people to read your work, and then learn how to be a professional in the field. And from there, I started attending ArmadilloCon, and I came up with a short story for. Oh, I also met Carrie Richardson, who's no longer with us anymore, but she was my first mentor, and she insisted that I should write short stories because, of course, I wanted to be a novelist, right? So, I wrote a short story, brought it to the workshop. The first time around, it went pretty well, and I felt pretty good about the whole thing. And the second time around, there was an editor that came to teach, and I ended up in his class. And he read my short story and loved it. And then at the end of the convention, he asked me for my novel. I sent him the novel, and he didn't buy it, which was like the best thing to ever happen to me, frankly, because of course, we're like, oh, I've blown my one time that it was going to ever happen,
that was it.
Right? But then I spoke to other writers and other published authors and people who had been traditionally published, everything, and so they informed me that this was just part of the whole being a writer.
Yep.
Is you have to take rejections, and that's just part of the process. So you have to be tough enough to say, okay, that's a rejection. Don't take it personally. Figure out. The one thing you have control of as a writer is actually your craft. That's what you have control over. So always try to improve, because if you're always improving and always learning, you have something interesting going in. I have ADHD, so my brain has to have something interesting to lock onto.
Yep.
Otherwise, it just goes somewhere else. I worked at a bookstore because, again, I'm very curious about the whole process behind books and how they're created. And books are just my first love, really.
Yeah.
Art is also a big love. Visual arts is also a big love, but books are just the first love. So the agent actually takes your work and goes forth and takes it to all the various publishers, and then the acquisitions editor is going through all of the submissions, and they find the books that are very interesting, and then they contact the agent, and so on. There are publishers that will accept unagented manuscripts. But one of the things you have to kind of understand, back when I was first submitting and trying to find an agent and stuff, agents are really hard to get. They really are. Part of the process is that I asked a really popular agent about how many manuscripts they got in a year. It was 150,000 manuscripts a year.
What?
Yeah, that's a lot of manuscripts.
There's no human way possible to read that many.
No, there's really not. So they generally have readers that read the slush. It's called the slush pile. And then you get through the slush pile. If you get towards the top, then they get punted up to the next level, which is, the agent themselves, and they are constantly reading.
Whoa.
All this stuff. It's a very big, important job, so there's a lot going on. I've got an essay in the back of Loki's Ring that actually discusses the entire process of how, once a writer finishes writing the book, what happens to the book after that if you're a traditional writer.
Oh, cool.
And all the jobs, it really is literally a village of people that touch that, and all of those people deserve to make a living. That books are precious, and they can save people's lives.
Yeah.
And you never know, as a writer, that is what's going on. But I know from my personal experience that reading saved my life in many ways.
Let's talk about your new book.
Yes, it's called Loki's Ring.
Okay.
It's a space opera.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's set in the same world as Persephone Station. But yes, so in this universe, artificial general intelligences have been granted personhood.
Okay.
So they are people, and they have citizenship like anybody else. And a group of people have decided that this is not cool and broken off from the Republic of Worlds and formed their own system. So my idea was that I really wanted to present other genders being competent in their roles.
Yeah.
And doing things under pressure and being good at their jobs and being intelligent and doing other things besides having romances. So in this world that I've in the universe that I've created within the Republic of Worlds, nobody's the prejudice against LGBTQ+, that doesn't exist. I just thought, hey, why don't we just have a world where everybody's equal?
Yeah.
And let's just put that aside. And then we deal with other problems, right?
All right, well, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been fantastic.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed it. It was very nice to meet you.
Oh, it was a pleasure to meet you too. Goodbye.
Bye.
Van Show, Van Show, Van Show.